Good morning. Super early here. Woke up early to do this. Just a post that's a little different than normal. Um, I want to look at monthly levels today so that we have something for October to work with. So hopefully be a pretty quick video, but I'm going to go through the curve, go through every product we cover, and provide some levels, and use them as you wish. You can mark them on your chart, or for me, what I do is I have them sort of written down because I don't like a lot of stuff on my charts. You guys know that. So I like to keep things simple. So it's something I might reference once a week or whatever, just to look at, and then, or I might even have them. I have like a little spreadsheet with a daily plan, and on that, those levels are there, so I can take a look at them every day. But it's not something I want, all over my chart. Um, so another thing is that as we move into October, October does tend to have wider daily ranges, wider monthly, weekly, so on and so forth. Um, that's something to be aware of. And I think I've talked in the past about what happens when, as we go through like the weekly levels, if they get snapped, if it goes beyond full range for whatever reason, if volatility picks up, how to calculate more levels as you go. I'll try if this happens, I'll try to make some posts like midweek to cover that. But if I'm not doing that for whatever reason, just remember to measure between levels, the distance between from one level to the other, and then extend downward or upward or whatever it might be. We'll get into that. No big deal. But as I was mentioning about October, I'm going to go ahead and show you some data here. This is the spreadsheet I have for UB. Um, So this is for ultras. And if you look in here, so one thing, all right. So what you're seeing here is max on this column, minimum min on this column, excuse me. So lowest. These are daily ranges, by the way. Um, and then you see sort of an average, and whereas the averages are pretty much in line. This is over about 11 years worth of data. I think this goes back to 2014. So yeah, these dailies do tend to be about the same, as you can see, all the way down. But the number that I look at is this range percentage of spot, basically. So I can use this to calculate an expected daily range based on seasonality. And that number for this month, for October, is 1.33, whereas for like September, it's 1.28, August, 1.26, 1.2 July. So summer months tend to be lighter. Um, you know, March is the biggest outlier, but anyway, at 1.68. But these last 3 months of the year do tend to be a little thicker than what we've kind of become accustomed to in summer, and that's where I tend to, you have to be alert. Try to be alert that this is a change of character, and some of the things that were working the last few months may not work as well moving forward. So you have to be aware of that so that you don't get burned. So anyway, that's just something I wanted to share real quick before I get into the charts. But let's go ahead and look at the charts. So first off, I got the twos. Um, these levels, they work just like the weekly ones, but they're just, as you can see, it's a lot wider because we're trying to work with a month. Now, what I've got here is a 1 year, or I actually have 24-month average going here. So you can see up here, you see the average monthly range for the twos is about 26 and a little over a quarter or a third ticks. So that should show here. So 20.6 minus, yeah. So um, here's your levels. I'm going to put these in screenshots like I always do in the post. But your pivot is going to be this 104.075 for the month of October. Each level up, you'll be able to see them in the post below. But kind of range we're looking at as an expectation for October. So there we are. Let's move on to the fives. Like I said, I want to make this a quick video. Don't need to spend too much time on the charts unless I see something that I want to talk about. Okay, so this is a ZF. Sorry, sounds like I might be whispering a little bit. It's because my family's all still asleep here. So, all right. So our pivot for October for the fives, 109.072, which we're butting up against at the moment here, just like we were with the twos. We've got a bit of a downtrend here with the slope of that average, and it's sort of working its way back into it at the moment. There's our pivot, expected range of about 61 ticks. So that's almost two handles. So that goes from 108.07 all the way up to 110.06. Okay. And I'll start pointing out in between. You got about every 10 ticks. So every 10 ticks or so, you've got a level. Something to keep in mind. All right, let's go to the end. Zoom in a little bit. Pivot for ZN, 112.18.2. A big block of about, I think it was like 30,000 contracts hit this at 112.17 yesterday. That's with the end of month flows. So it's interesting that the pivot, again, these are all auto-generated based on code I've written. So, I mean, it's not like I sit here and draw these. They just show up. And they've been pretty reliable for us, obviously. So it's cool when it shows up at a kind of point of concentration. I think that level will play a lot today and this week. With that big ass order hitting, it's going to be a point of interest anyway. So it's cool that it hit there. So 112.18.2, count 15 ticks. It's 112.18, excuse me. I shouldn't have even mentioned that too. There's no such thing. Down to 112.03's got so that's 15 ticks between each level for the month, thereabouts. So your top resistance happens to be slightly above last month's high here. So you're at 113, we'll call it 114. And your bottom support is about 111.05. Okay. Moving on. Oops. Wrong button. There we go. Here's the Ultra 10s. Pivot 115.04.5. I believe for our weekly, it was a little below there actually. But that's cool that lines up with this sort of downward sloping average too. So that's your monthly pivot. You got about 20 ticks between each level. On up to 117 with a half a tick above it. On down to 113.09. So that looks like about almost four handles, so 120 ticks in range for the month is what we're looking at. Okay. ZB. Sorry, I got a trend line here. Gotta delete that. Let me get rid of this guy. Move it. There we go. Just clutter. So pivot on the classic 30s. It's going to be 116.23. That was actually a pretty heavy level yesterday. Let's go look at something real quick. All right. Let me do something. Bit studies. Fun with that pivot. We traded in there a lot yesterday. There you go. You can see how much time we spent here, how much volume was done. You can't really see from the chart, but a lot of volume was done at that area, so I'm glad that showed up as a pivot for this month. It looks like that'll be important. This was a pretty decent sell. I felt like it came out of nowhere. I believe our final resistance for this week was 117.10. So it didn't quite make it to where I thought it would. But anyway, that was a decent sell yesterday. There was some power behind it, but sometimes you gotta that end of month stuff. You don't really know Sorry. You don't really know the intention behind that, and so you have to take it with a grain of salt sometimes and not read too much into it. Um, but that it is worth watching to see if we get some continuation. It feels like the, the end of month bid that we normally get is probably not going to be there this week. So if we do get another push, although it looks like the Europeans have pushed it down already, and it's bounced right back out of it to where we're trading slightly above or right at the lows of yesterday right now. So be interesting to watch. I think today's actually pretty important. Uh, it sounds dramatic, but I am interested to see how the open goes, how the opening range develops, and what the Americans are going to do with this thing today with the government shutdown and all that. I'm not going to reference that ever again because it's stupid, but um, I want to see how the market interprets that for sure. Anyway, 116.23 pivot, just under a handle between each level. As you can see, the 117.22, 118.22, and then your top resistance here, 119.21, bottom support 113.26. Okay, let's move on to the ultras. Zoom. Okay, so we pivot here, 120.06. 120 is a big level. We sold off of 121 yesterday. I've been sort of gravitating back toward it. Spent a lot of time in this area. And if you look at that pivot for October at 120.06 is sort of the top edge of this little range here. And oddly, our first support, again, this stuff's automated. I don't draw this. It's pretty cool. But your first support is just a sweep below this recent, low from last week. Interesting. So anyway, these will work for the month, but you're looking at, let's see, 4 plus 6, so 10. So about 42 ticks between each level. Top edge resistance is going to be 124.06. That's interesting too. You got a sweep of the September high as your second resistance. So you see over here, 122.21. This would be one of those sweeps, like where they just run it above everybody, run everybody's stops and then drop it. That'd be interesting to watch. Bottom support, 116.07. Okay. Okay. That's it for the bonds. Let's go look at equities. I may have to skip it because I didn't change the code for this. It'll work. We're going to have to make do. Normally, I have a different code for equities, and I totally forgot about that. So these levels are going to look goofy as hell, just FYI. And also, this is not to be paid attention to on this because I haven't changed the code to account for the different sort of tick configuration of the ES. But we're going to use this, and we're going to round it ourselves, okay? The levels wouldn't be different. It's just the way that they're presented on the chart looks different when I change the code. So sorry about that, guys. But I'll actually, by the time I get the post out, I'll try to get the code changed for you so the levels are cleaner because this is ugly. Anyway, and let me add one real quick. Studies, edit studies. Let's do this. Average monthly range. We'll at least change these, okay? There we go. So now you can look at these. You've got an expected monthly range for October, 376 handles, okay? Which puts your pivot point here at 67.52. Just because we're below this pivot doesn't mean this is bearish. I think these levels have been interpreted that way. I may have even explained them that way at some point. It's really just, this is saying, it's not a matter of buy above, sell below, okay? There's no hard rules in anything. I do plenty of buying below pivots, right? What it's really saying is that, like, this is where these are levels that need to clear in order for us to extend higher, right? So we need to get above, this is obvious, 6752 in the ES to extend higher, and that pushes you all the way, opens up this area up here where you got like 6929 as a top resistance. Sellers are going to continue to take, they're going to maintain control below there and try to push this lower to test these other levels. So, 6693 is your first one down, which we happen to be trading pretty close to right now. How many points is that? So 52 plus 7, so 59 points between levels. Let's call it 60 just to make it cleaner. Second support 6634, which happens to be this, I believe it's September's low. Let me pull September into context. It's not September's low because we set the low on the first of the month, but the recent low after the Federal Reserve sell off here. Or what is this actually? Anyway, sorry, buddies. Your lower support 65.75. So this is what it's looking at. So if you, even though it's trading below its quote unquote its pivot, we're projecting a move higher. Okay, so an extension here, and that, as you can see, there's this is all areas that we've already traveled. This is just saying to you that once it clears this high, obviously, this is what it's going to open up. All right. Hope that makes sense. It's early. I've only had one cup of coffee, so I don't know if I'm explaining that very well. But anyway, let's move on to NQ. Similar picture here. Okay. Now these levels are really going to look out of whack. Again, we're going to round them. So your pivot here is 25,006. So just below the recent high. Your resistance, your final resistance is 25,843. Final support 24,168. Each level, between each level, is going to be about 270, or I'm sorry, 230. What is it? Oh my God, 280 points or handles. So every 280 points, we should have some volume concentration, is what that means. Okay, move on to the Dow. The old boomer Dow. Let's get September into context. Here we go. All right, pivot here 46,745. Third resistance 47,965, 964. Third support 45,526. In between each level, we've got about what is that? 407 points, 407 handles. So just call it 400. It's easier. You get an expected monthly range. 2647.58. So we'll call that 2648. 2,648 handles for the month. Okay. All right. Now, chart's likely to get dicey. Let me switch gears here. We're going to go. I'm going to kind of go out of order just because I want to keep this in context without having to change. Because, for instance, gold uses the same code as the equities do. So that's what I'm going to use now. So gold, you're looking at 39.33 as a pivot. We're trading 19 below that right now. So that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's not like it's saying that because it's below there, you should be shorting this. Nothing about this says short right now. It's just saying that that's where we need to clear to extend higher. Okay. So your third resistance at 40.34, third support at 38.31. So that looks like a range of about 249 handles. Okay. Again, all this is going to be printed below. And I'm gonna switch over to Bitcoin now. Like I said, I'm going out of order. I'm going off memory, going through the ones that use the same code. Is that right? Yes, that's correct. So looking at Bitcoin now, 116,634 is a pivot. Third resistance 1240. Excuse me, 112. Gosh, idiot. 124,623. Third support 108,645. So, how far are we going between levels? Well, let's see. It's about a 17,968 for the full range. Let's see here. So 16,634. That's about 2,000. About 2,100 or so as far as oh, I need to wake up. Distance between each level. So let's call this 122 plus 2,600, 2,700, somewhere in there. Okay. All right, now let's switch it up. I know that I just skipped through. Let's go. What do we want to look at next? CL. I am going to have to change. Nope, this will do. All right, so CL crude's going to play from 62.21 as a monthly pivot. Resistance, third resistance is going to be 66.48, which is a recent high here. Third support 57.95. Okay. Each level is spaced, let's see here, 22 cents plus 21, so $1.43 between, wait, is that right? Yeah, $1.43 between levels. So each one sort of equidistant, or not equidistant, has about $1.43 in between. Okay. Let's move on to silver. I think that's all. This will be our last one. Silver, looking for a range of about $4.03 for the month. Pivot, or pretty much right on it, just a little below it, 47.49. Top resistance is 49.48. Bottom support 45.50. We're gonna round that up. Each level between, the distance, again, I'm trying to, let's see, 49 plus 18 is 67 cents. Every 67 cents, you should see some sort of concentration of volume. All right. That's all I really have for you guys today. It was a quick post. Like I said, I'm gonna get some levels marked up for you in the underneath the video. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a great week. Give me a shout if you have any questions. Pop into the Discord if you want. We're always there. See ya.